An idea came into Nutan's mind, and he said with widened eyes, "Hey, apparently there are only just a few true holy helpers, while the others are just going along for the alienating ride. If these people realized just how few there really were," Callisto finished Nutan's sentence with, "the people could probably defeat Bob on their own." Nutan and crew heard a humming sound that seemed to be coming out of the ground. They noticed that the man Nutan sent off into 2 pieces was actually now melting into the ground like the swords did. "Nutan, look!" shouted the crewman. 2 indentations were forming in the ground, and 2 holy helpers, exactly like the one Nutan thought, just like the one that Nutan thought he destroyed, were now coming up out of the ground. Nutan felt a little fear mixed with anger, but hid it well by trying to make light of it. "Ah, isn't that cute?" said Nutan. "You kill one and all it does is make more of them." Nutan then said nonchalantly, "Well, I wonder how many I can make." He looked at his crew and said, "Weapons ready? Fire." The crew struck the 2 replicas of the man Nutan had just fought with the intense beams of their ray guns, disintegrating them both. But before they could relish in whatever little destruction they brought on the god of Ramadan, they were suddenly distracted by a loud siren sound that was stopping everyone from doing what they were doing and faced in the direction of the absorber of their life force. Those who had been watching the Nutan fight seemed terribly torn. They wanted to see what else the stranger and his friends would be doing next, but then again, they didn't want to risk hell or have their city destroyed. Nutan yelled out at them, "You're all free now. If that big bastard shows up, he's going to have to deal with something that will greatly give him a bad beard day, if you know what I mean." Nutan threw a fist into his palm with a wild stare in his eyes, a wild look in his eyes. The people in the area looked horrified. They couldn't respond, yet they wanted to. They had to face the absorber. But why, if just a few rebels were going to blow it for all of them? Then again, there was the threat of hell on top of it that Fuyu hadn't quite revealed yet. Please face the absorber," one begged with fear in her voice and eyes as her face and body faced the direction of the absorber. Nutan and his crew experimented by looking in the direction as those around them, and immediately felt kind of tired as a humming sound occurred again, along with 4 more indentations that were forming. It was proof that there were going to be 4 more replicas of the holy helpers Nutan had destroyed. Although Nutan was a mutant, and quite different from the time when he was a normal man, he was noticing a bit of draining himself taking place. Nutan made a move with his head, with his crew, made a move with his head, and his crew followed him toward what was left of the house of Ramadan, leaving the natives around them shaking in their shoes. One guy came at Nutan like a crab. Nutan smacked the absorber-looking man a good one, knocking him out. Nutan and crew then entered the place that had a lot more sunshine, and Nutan went for the decorated book that was being looked at by the guy he didn't fight. Nutan then said to Mr. Fuyu, "Have you seen this book before?" "Hi," said Fuyu. "It's a copy of the holy book the glowing beam gave to us right before it went back out into space." "Have you read it?" asked one of the crew. "Yes, of course. It's required reading. We all have to read it." Nutan read the title of it and laughed. "Get this, my crew. It's titled, 'Worship Me Only or Else.'" Jeff Long broke in and said, "Damn, strange name for a holy book. That sounds like the title of some kind of religious tract." Nutan got a serious look on his eyes, held the decorated book up and said with a smile, "Would that my enemy had written a book," I heard it said. "This could be the key to bring down the Temple of Ramadan completely." And with that, Nutan and his crew beamed back aboard Mutania, right when the 4 clones of the one he killed entered. shocking those who witnessed it, and in a way relieving some of their fear by making them think that if they had the power to disappear like that, maybe, just maybe, they had other powers that could set them free from Bob. Back up on Mutania, Nutan's crew stepped off the transporter plates and headed toward the bridge. Nutan reached into his spacesuit that was designed to shield his crew from the atomic energy within him and took out the 2 bullets that had actually penetrated it. He was healed up already from the attack and now held the 2 bullets in his hand. We have less than an hour to stop that gigantic Weirdbeard if we have disrupted the status quo, said Nutan. Any sign that it's coming out of the ground yet? The crew got to their stations to see. Nutan caught Callisto's attention and tossed the holy book of Ramada at him. Read it, Callisto, and see if you can find anything in it that might give us a fighting chance if what I have planned fails. What do you have planned? Asked Callisto, already beginning to scan the book. Nutan sat on his throne, thought for a while, then pulled out a strange object from his pocket that was shaped like a large fountain pen. One of Nutan's crew's eyes widened on seeing the object. He asked, "The Alpha Capsule? You're going to fight it, physically, as a giant? Mano y mano?" Nutan thought about it and said, Nutan looked at his crew and said, "My crew, as crazy as it sounds, hey, no matter how stupid or repressive a religion, if it promises a better life for the followers, you won't believe the incredible crap that believer will go through to continue in it. It doesn't sound logical, but it seems to be the case. The more oppressive the religion, the more the followers will defend it to the death even. If the Patanars see the religion destroyed in the next hour, they will need something to replace it with, and fast, because it's so repressive. If I can attack that thing, mano y mano, like you said, they might realize that there is something more to life than just getting old and dying. Maybe, in the process, they won't turn to drinking the fire water, if you know what I mean." Abakaba, another of his crew, also Nutan, from the planet Kumba, said, "I don't know about that becoming a giant to fight a giant, know what I'm saying? It seems that the bigger you get with that thing, the goofier and more uncoordinated you come, know what I'm saying?" Another crewman broke in and said, "Yeah, at 100 feet tall, you fight very well and fast with that thing. At 500 feet, you seem to fight like a drunkard. Who knows how you'd fight at 1,000 feet tall, like Bob supposedly becomes." "I've never been 1,000 feet tall with this thing," said Nutan, with a bit of worry in his voice. "Besides, to make me that large, man, it will take most of the energy of this ship that it's already low on. It'll take most of the energy on the ship Besides, to make me that large, man, it will take most of the energy the ship is already low on, thanks to the surprise attack from the Federation. To create matter out of energy requires a lot of energy." Sheena, looking concerned, said, "Why don't we just wait for Bob to form, like Fuyu said, then blast him with our weapons?" Nutan thought for a while and said, "No, I want to instill the inhabitants with awe, as a giant myself. Besides, I've got this device here, and there is an oppressive giant down there. It's just practically screaming at me to use it." Nutan then thought, "How I hate the name Bob. Begins the same way as my nemesis that got the universe against us, the computer god of industrial bog." A few minutes later, the crew Mutania watched Bob come up out of the ground. Surprisingly, this time, his beard was black and not gray. Shocking Fuyu. Fuyu said he had never seen it with a black beard at the beginning. Not only was Bob young looking here, but instead of the peaceful look it usually had on its face, this time it was rumbling the ground with a scowl. It wasn't long until the giant was facing the direction of the absorber. As it bowed in the direction of the absorber, Nutan commanded his crew to scan the area of where the absorber was. When the camera of the Mutiny crew, when the camera of Mutiny captured it, Nutan and crew were kind of stunned. Nutan got up out of his throne and said, "So that's it.